Hi everyone, Casey Zander here. I'm going to show you exactly how looks actually affect your dating life. I have about 11 years of physique history here to show you. Now, when I say looks or unlocking her primal desire is literally everything, like you got to understand this, okay? When I started developing my physique and I got to really good shape, I would be at a bar or I would be at like a house party or something like that, and a lot of times like the hottest woman who was there would just start making out with me first. I've seen all this. I wouldn't even say anything. I wouldn't do anything. And I don't say that like to brag. I just have like raw proof because I've been in the gym for literally 11 years. So I'm going to show you all of this. Now, with all that said, okay, today is also the last day that you can get my Black Friday or Cyber Monday gift that I put together for you. This is literally the last day. So after today's video is over, be sure to grab that. It's been amazing. You'll truly love it. You'll truly like it. It's literally the last day to grab it, so go and do that. When it comes down to how you look, it doesn't just affect initial attraction, it's literally everything. But in order for you to grasp this concept at a deeper level or more, this is what I would advise you to do. You need to switch the word, or you need to switch the phrasing in your mind. So instead of looks, you need to shift your mindset to unlocking her primal desire. Okay, unlock primal desire. If you can think of attraction in that type of term, it's going to be way easier for you to shift your physique to the way you want to, and it's going to be easier for you to understand how all of this plays an effect. I have 11 years of physique history here to show you. I started at rock bottom. I built myself into who I am today, and I'm going to show you this. Looks are everything when it comes to developing that initial attraction. Here goes. Okay, so picture the first pictures that I want to show you is these two right here. So what I want to tell you is this. Okay, I don't consider myself to have like bad genetics at all. In fact, like I have really good ab symmetry even. I'm pretty well built, but it just took me longer to develop. Okay, so like I didn't really fully like mature in my opinion until I was like 18, 19 years old, where a lot of dudes, you know, by 15, 16, 17 years old, they were already developing a lot of muscle mass. So this is how I looked. The pictures that you're seeing here, I was probably about 15 or 16 years old. My frame was pretty lean. I graduated high school at like 145 pounds, but we'll just go through all these. So then the second picture that I'm going to show you is right here. Okay, so in this picture, I was 18 years old, and that was my starting point. At that point, I had no dating experience really. It wasn't until after I graduated that I really started to like blossom and develop, you know, my life in other areas. But leading up to this picture, the reason why I want to show you this picture right here is so you can see my baseline. So this is my baseline genetics right here, or this is like my 18-year-old photo. This was the photo that I took for work when I was actually a real estate agent. So I became a real estate agent at 18. This is like the baseline, how I looked the year of graduation. So right in this photo, I had only been lifting weights for probably like 2 or 3 months. I didn't have that much dating experience, okay? I graduated high school at about 145 pounds. So this is going to be the last photo that you see until I now actually start my physique development, my physique journey. So then these pictures right here, okay? I was 19 years old in this photo, and this is my first year of lifting weights. Okay, so this is my first year of lifting weights. I was about 18 or 19 years old right here. I had about 1 full year of lifting under my belt. Okay, and then that winter, I started to get attraction, or I started to get a lot of like attention from women. A lot of times these were really pretty women, like in my hometown. Like I noticed that some of like the prettiest girls started actually giving me attention, if you wanted to call it that. Okay, this picture right here where I was like 18 or 19 years old, I can't remember exactly, but I had about 1 year of lifting under my belt and physique development. You can see like this is how I looked my first year of lifting weights. That winter, I started to actually get like attention. Pretty women started to notice me. This was also the year that like I lost my V card, for example. And like I said, just overall, I started to notice that like, just from starting to develop my physique, I went from like having no attention from women at all really to all of a sudden, I would say like the top 10% of women as far as like, you know, beauty or like, the prettiest girls all of a sudden started to notice me. So this is something that I did notice. So I'm telling you this because I have a lot of pictures here that I'm going to go through with you, okay? So that's when I was about 19 years old. That's when I started to gain a lot of attention. And I went from like having no dating experience to like all of a sudden like I started sleeping with women, and like it was really easy and it was effortless. And from that point on, my whole life started to really change. Okay, this was right after I graduated high school. Now, fast forward, these pictures on my notes here, I call these pictures 4A and 4B. So this right here is when I had about 2 to 3 years of weightlifting under my belt. And at this point, I actually started to party. Okay, like I went to like a couple, like let's say country music festivals. I was throwing house parties sometimes. And I started to gain a level of like, I would even say like popularity just from like being more attractive. This is just what I noticed. So like this whole video is like my experience. So when I'm telling you like looks is everything, especially like to pretty women, especially like younger women, looks is everything, because not only are you tapping into looks, I want you to shift your mindset. You're unlocking primal desire. Like you look physically capable at a different level. Okay, so the reason why I want to show you these photos is because at this point in my life, I actually started to party and I noticed facial aesthetics more. So this is when I started to notice like women at parties would just start like making out with me or things like that. I was doing nothing. I would also have women like notice, like I would just notice different things that I had never experienced. Women would just come up and just blatantly compliment or say, "You're so hot." I even had a woman say that she wanted to go home with me. And I have another story about this that I'm going to tell you in just a little bit. So fast forward to these photos. Okay, so right here, I was probably 20 to 21 years old. Okay, and by now, I probably put on about 20 pounds of muscle, maybe a little bit more. I weighed about 165 pounds in these photos, maybe 170. Okay, and with these photos right here, I call these photos like 5A and 5B on my notes. I wanted to be a fitness influencer so bad, like literally so bad. And I just went all in on like fitness and physique. I wanted to be a fitness influencer so bad. And then the reason why I want to show you these photos and why I even have these photos flexing, I was probably about 21 years old right here, maybe 22 even. I had an online fitness business. Like I had an online fitness website and clients and everything. So my physique really started to come through. Like my physique started to come through in my hometown. I was even known for like fitness. So this is where I also got like a taste of what status is like. So when you start to develop status at something, okay, you could be a great musician, you could be a great skateboarder, you could be a great surfer. For me, it was fitness. Like in my hometown, at this point, being like an influencer or speaking on camera, this was new, okay? It was probably like 2017, okay? I was probably like 21, 22 years old here in these photos. I weighed like probably about 170. And like, it wasn't just my physique at that point. Okay, when I was talking to a woman, she was identifying me as like, oh, he's that fitness guy. He's that guy who writes all these blogs on the internet. He's this guy with all these fitness clients that he works with. He's this guy who's constantly giving advice on how to get in shape. And I started to gain like a little bit of like a local celebrity effect is what I would actually call that. And it was a different taste of status and popularity that I had not yet experienced. So not only was I known for looking good, okay, or like when I would be out and about, even at like different cities sometimes if I was out with friends, I would notice like women would just come up to me. It was also really easy. This was like the first days of like online dating apps when like Tinder was really big. It was super easy for me to just like match with like a really hot woman, a really hot girl at the time. And like I said, I was young, okay? So I'm just showing you this because this is my experience. Like looks is everything because you're unlocking her primal desire. Like there's a reason, honestly, in my opinion, the reason I'm even able to make all these marker board presentations for you every single week is because I actually had the physique and the popularity to go with it to even have enough dating experience to give you any advice in the first place. Because on a root level at a young age of like 18, 19, I was already starting to notice like really high desire from women. And that's why I preach staying on your purpose, the dedication, the discipline, constantly improving things in your life, getting in really good shape, unlocking that primal desire. You have to really be that type of guy in her eyes to really trigger that attraction. So keep that in mind, okay? Then let's get to picture number 6, okay? I want to show you all of these because there's been a lot of like iterations and development of Casey Zander. There's been a lot of different versions of me over the years. This next year in 2026, going into 2026, I'm going to be 30 years old. I'm at a different point in my life right now. You know, I'm more mature in my career. I'm more mature in life even. You know, the next 10 years here, I'm thinking about family, okay? And, you know, like starting a family and that type of stuff. So like I'm at a different point. So the reason why I'm telling you this stuff, that looks are so important because you're unlocking her primal desire, is because this is everything to get her to go, wow, he's hot. And by the end of this video, I even have proof of this too to show you. So picture number 6 here, okay, I leaned into more of like the pretty boy look. I leaned into the pretty boy look. I was about 22 years old here, and you can see like this is the stuff I was wearing. The clothing that I was wearing at the time was like American Eagle, Abercrombie and Fitch. You can see I don't have any facial hair, but my face is really lean. I'm holding the wine glass. Like this was probably a photo that I used for like a blog or something that I wrote at the time for my fitness website. But this is what I can tell you. I was attracting like at this point, so like we're going to get to picture 7A and 7B right here. This right here is my leanest physique, okay? Leanest physique. I totally had the pretty boy look going. At this point, when I hit this physique, I really dieted down. So the heaviest I ever got at the time was about 175 pounds. And right here, okay, I was about 22, 23 years old here. This is when I hit my leanest physique and I started attracting like the hottest women. So like my first year of weightlifting, I would say like I was attracting like the top 10% of women. At this point, I was attracting like the top hottest women. Like all of the pretty girls who like all the guys wanted, these were women that like I had access to dating. And these were women who a lot of times were approaching me first. These were women who were trying to get to me. It was really easy for me to get a girlfriend. All of a sudden, just like the pretty women, like the really pretty women, like it was just easy for me to attract them. And they were starting conversations first. It was just easy. At this point, okay, so now we're going to get to picture 8 right here. At this point, this was towards the end of that summer when I was about 22 or 23 years old. I can't remember exactly, but this is when I really knew what my archetype was at the time. I was like the longer haired, blonde, like pretty boy archetype, about 165 to 170 pounds, blonde hair. I was looking really aesthetic. At this point in my life too, this is the story that I want to tell you. Like I remember this. This is the point when I went on like my first like vacation. So I went to Cancun with a couple of my friends for spring break. And I remember we walked into like this bar or this club or whatever. I can't even remember what it was really or where it was at. But I walked in and I'll never forget this. It was like within 20 minutes, not even, maybe within like 5 minutes of being there, this random girl just comes up to me at this bar, and I'll never forget this. I was wearing like white pants and like a cut-off tank top, and she like puts her finger right here in my sleeve of my tank top and like leads me to a different spot of where all of her friends were, and she like pulls me into the group, and then she just starts making out with me. I'll never forget that because it was like instantly I noticed I was like I'm gaining attention and attraction from a lot of different women. There was another time I was at this bar, I'll never forget this. And I'll keep these photos up so you can see about the physique like I had at the time. I'll never forget this. It was either Thanksgiving weekend or it was New Year's Eve. I'll never forget this. And I was probably 22, 23 years old at the time. And the hottest girl in this bar, later I found out a couple days later, she was actually a few years older than me. So she was probably like 25, 26, 27. I was about 22, 23. This woman was just amazing, just gorgeous. Every single guy was looking at her in the bar. I'll never forget this. And at the time, so you have to remember, like This was how I looked in the beginning when I first like graduated high school. So like I now noticed that I had access to really hot women, but like my confidence level and where I was at like as a person, my identity still didn't catch up yet fully to how I looked. Like I was still getting laid. I had really pretty girlfriends at the time. You know, at that point too, I had at least one long-term relationship. But I'll never forget this. It's like, it's either Thanksgiving weekend or it's New Year's Eve. And I'm at this bar and I completely thought that this girl was out of my league. Completely. Like I didn't even want to make eye contact because like I was even just nervous looking at her. She had really pretty long blonde hair, super curly. And towards the end of the night, this is a real story. Towards the end of the night, this girl, I was wearing like black jeans or like longer black pants. I'll never forget this. She starts slapping me on the butt. This is a real story. She starts slapping me on the butt. And then I turn and I look and it's her. No joke. And she grabs my shoulders and pulls me in and she starts making out with me in front of everybody. So like that was cool. I guess I even remember what I was wearing. I was wearing a all white Guess shirt, and it had like a specific pattern on it. You know, and dudes would make fun of me at that age too. They would say, oh, pretty boy, or you look like a tool or whatever. But like the truth is I was leaner than everybody. I was stronger than everybody, mostly because like I was in the gym consistently. At this point I was deadlifting 405 pounds for like 5 sets of 5. I really developed my physique and I was attracting women who like really wanted me for a change. And these were even women who I assumed were out of my league, but then I realized that they weren't. Okay, so that was my physique around this time. Now the next couple photos right here, I want to show you these photos so that way you can see facial aesthetics. Okay, so I call these photos 9A and 9B. So this is probably like summer of 2019. Facial aesthetics really started to come in. I had a really lean jawline. I also was really tan from being in the sun so much on the river, constantly boating and constantly jet skiing. And the reason why I want to show you this is because like when I looked like this, and I was partying a lot, I was constantly socializing. You have to remember too, so like I was born in 1996, so like technically I'm like a millennial. This was when like Snapchat first came out. This is when like Instagram first came out. The world didn't rely as much on social media. Like we were going out to house parties every single weekend is what guys were doing. That's what everybody was doing, is we were actually having fun. And everybody wasn't focused on like looking at their cell phone. There was no really like live streaming. Like in my whole hometown where I lived at in North Dakota, I was like the only fitness influencer that I knew of. At my gym, I was the only guy who was like setting up a tripod and bringing a tripod and a camera to the gym. And that's because I just happened to watch like other fitness influencers on the internet. Also, that was the time when like Gary Vaynerchuk really started to blow up online and everybody was watching him. So I saw that too and I was like, wow, like people are filming themselves and building these brands. And I was one of the only dudes that I knew of who was watching that stuff. So I just went all in on that type of stuff and that's what I was interested in. Okay, so that's what I started to do. Facial aesthetics started to come in. Women were approaching me first all the time. I was all of a sudden dating like the hottest women in my hometown too, or I had access to the hottest women. I was even the one a lot of times who was throwing parties. Now picture number 10 here, okay? This is also the physique that went along with how I looked in these previous photos. I was about 167 pounds here and I dieted all of that spring, so I was really shredded for the summer. You can see like my abs are pretty symmetrical. I have pretty good genetics. So that's why I told you at the beginning of this video, I don't consider myself to have bad genetics. I consider myself to just, it took me a while to build my physique and step into my frame and really mature. So the next photo here, I included this one because I was roughly the same leanness, but now this photo, after that summer, this is what I looked like towards the end of the fall. So this was probably about like September, October, and you can see I'm not as tan. So you can just see like facial aesthetics, this is how lean I was, but I started to lose my tan. So this is how I looked pretty much year round in the winter. Okay, so now moving into picture 12 right here. I was about 25 years old here, okay? And I started to bulk. So the reason why I want to include this side-by-side photo is so you can see how I looked at about 18 years old versus how I look now at about 25 years old. The reason why I started to bulk, it wasn't even necessarily conscious. This just started happening naturally because it was really hard for me to maintain that level of leanness all year round. So I naturally just started to eat more because it was harder and harder for me to recover in the gym. I constantly felt broken down. I wasn't gaining strength as quickly. Like I was just craving food all the time. So yeah, that's that. Another photo that I'm going to show you right here. This is picture number 13 on my notebook. I want to show you how I looked 2018 to 2022. I was 26 right here in this photo on the right. And I was still bulking. At this point in my life, I had a girlfriend. And yeah, that was kind of like my physique year round at that point. At that point in my life, 2022, I was done doing like the really, really big caloric deficits where I would cut a bunch of weight. This is really just like how I started to look. Okay, so I'm telling you that because I want you to see every aspect and every single element of my physique. I think that that's important. So I was 26 years old here. I had a girlfriend at the time. Okay, now 14A. Okay, 14A and 14B. I have these two photos. So the next summer, okay, I was 27 years old in these photos. Next summer, I got really, really lean again, okay? And I wanted to show you these photos because I started to like grow into my mature, like grown man physique. Like you can just tell. And I noticed something right here. When I started to grow into this like more older, mature man physique, you can see like at this point now it's easier for me to grow facial hair, all that good stuff. I just look a little bit more developed. It was like my physique had time to catch up with where I was at in the gym. And I noticed at the time, like, it was really interesting because at the time I was dating younger women, like women who were like 23 years old. I was 27 years old at the time, and I was still attracting really, really hot women. Like at that point, I still lived in North Dakota. I was attracting really hot women, but I noticed something. It was like 22, 23-year-old women were interested in me that were super, super hot, but also older women started to take interest in me. And that could be at the time, or that could be because at the time I was more established in my career as well and all this stuff. At this point in my life too, I owned a home, and I was only 27 years old. I had like a 6-bedroom house. So I started to have a lot of complementary factors that a man has. Okay, I had my own house. I had a career going for myself. I had a good physique. I dressed well. I took good care of myself. Things like that. Now, here's where I started to put on weight again. And this, once again, happened naturally. By this age, 27 years old, I don't know why, but I just started eating a lot of sweets. I started constantly eating Ben & Jerry's ice cream. For some reason, I was always craving cake and ice cream. And these next few photos I'm going to show you, this is where I went on like a bulk to almost 200 pounds. So picture 14C, okay? Well, actually, let's do 14B and 14C. So 14B, this is how I looked at 27 years old that summer. And then spring rolled around, okay? And here in this photo, I was 28, okay? And that's when I started to bulk. So these photos were only about 6 months apart. My birthday is in April. I was born April 1st. Then from summer to spring, this is where I was at in the photos. So 14C, I started to bulk again just because naturally I was craving a lot of sweets and I didn't have as much discipline. But you can see I was still really full. I looked pretty thick. I looked strong. This was my winter bulk again, spring leading into winter. And then 15A and 15B, these photos right here. And I just have these like labeled away on my notebook so I can keep track. I kept bulking here, okay, for almost I kept bulking for a whole year, and I was almost 200 pounds in these photos. So 15A and 15B, you can see I don't have a lot of facial aesthetics. 15C right here, you can see the beard is really long, so I start to look like that masculine man look. I can tell you this, at this point in my life right here, so this was about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer than a year ago, this was about 2024, I was really strong. This was probably when I was at my strongest physique. I kept bulking here, I was almost 200 pounds, but I want to stress something right here. So I was getting little to no choosing signals from younger women. Younger women were still gravitating towards the pretty boy look that I had when I was about 23, 24 years old. But with that said, older women, I noticed really liked me. Like really liked me. I was like that type of guy where it's like I would go into a bar and I noticed that older women were really gravitating towards me. A lot of times this is me not saying anything. I'd walk into the bar with my friends and I literally order 20 buffalo wings and I sit by myself and I'm just talking to my friends and I have a woman approach me. So listen, you can do a lot with physique because physique speaks for you. I don't care what anybody says, physique speaks for you. And I have proof of this because I've been in the gym for over 11 years now. Okay, so now fast forward to picture 16A and 16B. So this was this past summer. Okay, so this was only a few months ago. By now, I'm about 29 years old. I started cutting weight again from 200 pounds down to now about 184 in these photos right here. So 16A, I was about 184 pounds. I started getting a lot of choosing signals again. Even women who are like 20, 21 years old were constantly messaging first on dating apps, constantly even like direct messaging me first, like on Instagram, stuff like that. That's what I started to notice. Now, the reason why this is important is because this is where what I notice the biggest difference from like being like what I would call a millennial. In my early 20s, the dating scene was different. It was much more in person. It was much more about social life. People were more social in general. Nowadays, okay, it's more so about photos and dating apps and all of this digital stuff. So it's just different. That's what I noticed, okay? So even my attitude and my mindset, I noticed how much things were changing. Even with women, okay? Like women, it's like the dating game just changed so much. So 16B, okay, I included this photo from this past summer, okay? Because right here, okay, this is when I started to notice that you could stack like or I started to stack different qualities. So it was like I had this masculine look, okay, big muscles, big shoulders, but I could also add some elements of like the pretty boy physique or the pretty boy image. So I kept the long blonde hair. My hair naturally just gets blonde from the sun, so if I'm outside during the summer for an extended amount of time, the sun will just bleach my hair. So I kept that look and I leaned back into that and I noticed something. The female lens of attraction, at least for me, really preferred this. Like women gravitate towards this, like the combination of both masculine characteristics with like that pretty boy look, okay? Picture 16C, this is how I looked this past summer, 2025. This is me on a video. Picture number 17, this is how I looked this past summer and fall in clothing or towards the end of the summer. And you can see I started to do the longer hair that was blonde with the shorter beard length. And then picture 19 right here, or picture 18, the shorter beard length plus longer hair. You can also see like the way my physique is at about this 185 pound mark. This is where I started to look like I stepped into my like grown man mature physique, but also I started to look really good in clothing. So I started to look more of like a man who's now approaching his 30s. Picture number 19 right here. I wanted to include this because this is a great story to illustrate how important physique is. So she's about my age, and then after we've been together for a lot of months, she actually pulled this photo up when we were sitting in Flagstaff on like a small little vacation. And she pulled up this photo, which was a screenshot of my photo from Instagram, and she goes, yeah, this was the photo that I was sending to all my friends when you and I started talking. So I thought that was interesting. Like, keep in mind, even for her, you know, like that was a big factor for her. And this is why I'm telling you, like, unlock primal desire. Like, you want the woman that you're with to look at you and just go like, wow, that guy is so hot. And you're not going to be everybody's type, right? Like me, I naturally just have blonder hair. That's just me. How I look is how I look. You're not going to be everybody's type. But what's going to happen if you develop, you know, your physique, you develop your shoulder muscle mass, you develop your lats, your chest, you're going to create that V taper. And then as you lean down, your face is going to become more angular and good looking, and you're going to attract women a lot easier. So keep that in mind. Then picture 20A and 20B. I'm going to include both of these photos. This was me this past weekend. These photos were only about 24 hours apart. And this is just how I look currently. And I'm actually slowly getting ready for a cut. I'm going to go back down to about 180 pounds. Right now I'm about 190. I want to get back down to about 180. And I'll also include this video right here. The reason why I'm ready to finally do a cut is because I just got done dumbbell pressing shoulder presses. I just got done dumbbell shoulder pressing 100-pound dumbbells for the first time. This was a goal that I had for like the past 18 months, and I finally did it. As I get older and I approach my 30s, I also want to protect my body from injury. I don't want to tear like a rotator cuff or anything. I've already done a lot of heavy lifts. You know, I've squatted, you know, 365 for a single. I've incline bench press well over 2 plates for reps on reps. I've deadlifted 405 pounds for 5 sets of 5. I've done all this. I've now dumbbell pressed hundreds. As I get older now, I'm going to try to just maintain my physique and make sure that the lifting that I do, I don't get injured. Okay, so because of that, I'm ready to go back down to about 180 pounds. And yeah, this is my whole physique journey. So the reason why I wanted to show you this is because this is not just like a looks maxing video. Like, I've been doing this for 11 years. It's going to be hard for anybody to really like rival my opinions as well, in my opinion, due to the fact that I have 11 years of physique history here that I can show you. I've been dedicated to content creation in this space when it comes to dating topics for so many years. And on top of that, I've been a lot of different sizes. I graduated high school at about 145 pounds. I've been really shredded lean at 167 pounds. I got up to almost 200 pounds. And I've came full circle with all this. So this is my opinion on physique, unlocking her primal desire, and looks maxing. This is also my entire like journey of physique. If you like this video, all I advise you to do is grab my gift that I made for you. It's only going to be up till the end of today, and then I'm going to take it down. So you got a little bit of time left. You can join us inside right now for that gift. Hit the like button, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.